Hello, welcome to the Sweet Art Hunt. As everyone's in lockdown right now, we're going to try and do a quick video tour of the exhibition. So the exhibition's officially over, but in lockdown 2 we're going to bring you this very quick video tour looking at all the stops and all of the artworks along the way. We're starting off in lovely Charles Square in Hoxton, just a few minutes from Old Street Station. So here is the square, and it's one of the really early squares in the borough. And this house here, number 16, is said to be the oldest house in the area, built in 1725 as part of a redevelopment programme to try and make the area a bit more fancy. Our first stop in Charles Square is Electra Costa's work. We're just going to walk over to it right now. So there's Electra's piece, Doll's House, and we've chosen to put it here to sort of reflect the house number 16 Charles Square, and its idea of sort of, confinement and being trapped during lockdown, and the way that people are at the moment sort of confined to their houses, sort of pressing to get out of them. So here we are at Paul O'Farrell's piece, The Diamond Sorceress, number 2 on our route. We're outside the Prince Arthur pub here, so I'm just gonna have a look at the beautiful Prince Arthur pub. Sadly shut at the moment, but it's a lovely pub. You should come back here when it's open. And we've cited the piece outside here to reflect the probable naming of the pub for the 7th child of Queen Victoria, Prince Arthur. And we've used the typically Victorian elements, the idea of the bell jar and the taxidermy, which reflect the Victorian naming, but in Paul O'Farrell's piece it's been subverted by his choice of the hot pink colour. So the next stop on our route would have been our blank canvas, which was a place where artists or anyone doing the route could contribute a piece of artwork to build like a publicly visible sculpture. Unfortunately that's no longer there, due to the fact of it being a public piece. It's been sadly removed, but you can see all the iterations of the blank canvas on our website. We've taken pictures, we've documented all of the artwork that went there. Hopefully some of you got to see it in person. So instead we're going to skip that stop and go on straight to the next stop on the route, which is Robbie O'Keefe's piece. Here we are outside Curious Yellow Cafe, and inside is Robbie O'Keefe's piece, Coffee Drinkers. And the piece was inspired by a memory of his grandparents connecting over coffee one morning, and the idea of connection and conversation, and the warmth and joy that comes from that is really important right now. And we thought what better place to hang it than this gorgeous little cafe, where everyone that works there is so welcoming and friendly, and they do delicious coffee. We can't go inside without masks to see the piece, obviously, so we're going to don masks, keep quiet and go in and do a quick video of it now. So here we are in Hoxton Square for the next stop on our route, which is Jerome Beresford's work. This one might have been a bit hard to find for some of you, so apologies if you didn't manage to spot it, but it's hidden here, just behind this green hut. Here it is, and it's a really lovely GIF. So as you move, you get a different image, and and Jerome says that this piece has been inspired by the movement of a Christmas tree in the wind, and Hoxton Square is actually where the local Christmas tree gets put every year, so hopefully there'll be one this year. And also a bonus piece, which was nothing to do with us, during the route, the art hunt, a piece by Stick, the street artist, has appeared, which is this giant sculpture of these two guys holding hands, which is really cute. Okay, off to our next stop. So here we are outside the 333 bar. It's a little bit noisy because we're right next to a main road, but hopefully you can see up here there's a blue plaque to show that the building is actually the first meeting place of the Terence Higgins Trust, and this is why we've chosen to cite Jamie Ashman's work here. So we've got Jamie Ashman's piece Rebel Rebel, with its gorgeous rainbow flag, and so the Terence Higgins Trust is a charity named for Terence Higgins, one of the first people to die from the AIDS virus in Britain, and with the beautiful rainbow flag and the woman celebrating life by playing guitar in her tiger print trouser suit. This is a celebration and reminder of the LGBTQ+ community in the area and its history in general. So here we are on Rivington Street with Ian Law's piece, Ned 02, which is a beautiful portrait of one of the artist's friends, Ned. And we've chosen to pop it here. It's just down the street from Ruffian's Barbers, and as you can see, Ned is a very well groomed chap in this painting, sporting what I would call a Shoreditch beard. He might disagree, so we think it's perfect to have him here on this sort of key thoroughfare for the Shoreditch area. Read more about Ned on our full description of all the works, which we'll post a link to as well. Okay, here we are at the bottom half of Rivington Street, where the Sons of Incoherence have a piece. Suitably, there is a pile of rubbish underneath it. I think Sons of Incoherence would love that, calling themselves art deviants. So here is their piece. It's been placed over another blue plaque artwork. The original blue plaque was installed May 2010 by an unknown artist, and basically said this plaque was installed 6th of May 2010, but it's recently been defaced, so we thought this was a perfect place to have our Sons of Incoherence version. And I'm sure they probably did at some point, one or the other of them, or both of them, pissed up this wall. So the perfect place for it. And on to our next piece. So here we are at St Leonard's Church in Shoreditch, and it's here next to the church wall that we've chosen to cite the next piece, which is Helen Grundy's piece, A Got to Look Here. Should be said like that. And the piece depicts a Madonna with a ventriloquist dummy, and we've chosen to put it here next to the church because also in the very close to the area was the theatre, England's first purpose-built playhouse, built in 1576, and also the Curtain Theatre. So many actors from the period are actually buried in the crypt of the church. Sadly, you can't get in to see them right now, due to the church being closed. But the idea of placing the piece here brings a juxtaposition of the sort of iconoclastic and the irreverent, and also the truth with the phony or the fake. So we're outside the Boundary Estate Community Laundrette, and this is where we have placed our next piece, which is by photographer Chris Avis. And here we have no pegs, and the piece was created as a photograph taken in Mexico by the artist, and if you can see, it's an image of washing which has been hung on lines without using any pegs, and the photograph was taken in one of the poorer areas of Mexico, and sort of just shows how through ingenuity and creativity life can continue even when you might not have lots of money, and here people have managed to hang their washing without perhaps being able to afford pegs, and the area Boundary Estate is actually one of the first social housing developments in London, all of this red brick, so we thought it appropriate that the image was placed here outside of the laundrette in this community. Here we are at Diane Murphy's piece, Anima Mundi, which is just at the base of Arnold Circus, up here. A literal translation for Anima Mundi is world soul, but it also means like the vital force of the universe, and embraces nature and place. Arnold Circus is on quite a steep hill, probably one of the only hills in the area, and is also at the junction of 7 roads, which you can probably see better from the top. And it seems sort of a mystical place, so perfect to house Diane Murphy's piece. Here we are at John Gathercole's piece, See the Children Play, and we've sited this piece next to Hamlet Street Children's Playground, closed at the moment. But the idea to create some irony, as John has done, between the title and the images portrayed. So although there are children in the image, he's contrasted this with the sort of grinning dummy skull type face, and the images of what seems like war, to sort of give the suggestion that maybe all is not as it seems from the title and maybe an initial first glance at the image. Here we are at VJ Von Art's piece, Promise, and the piece was created while VJ was actually resident in the area, and shows a crucifix, a grinning mouth with lick me, and some children holding out their cups, and sort of the imagery is based around things VJ was inspired by while they were in the area, and we've chosen to pop the piece here because it's next to the Jago Apartments, which is this block here, and the whole area of the surrounding Old Nickel Street and the roads nearby were called the Jago in the 19th century, and the poverty of the area was documented by writers including Arthur Morrison in his book Child of the Jago, which I recommend. Fictionalised and sensationalised, but interesting nonetheless. VJ sort of compares living in the area in the early 20th century to ideas of poverty and deprivation. Here we are outside A to Z Grocers, to find Rosie Burns' piece, Health Over Wealth. And this was one of a series of works she created over lockdown, the first lockdown, that is, inspired by ideas of distancing, social distancing, and how this could be reinterpreted as physical distancing, but also considering the ideas of economic benefit over social benefit, and health benefits. And we love this piece because it's got the toilet roll image, and as most people know, in the UK there was the toilet roll gate, where nobody could buy toilet roll for a few months at the beginning of lockdown, and we thought it's appropriate to pop it outside a local grocer's, one of the few places we could actually find toilet roll at the time. Okay, we're outside the Owl and the Pussycat pub, and here we have Lydia's piece, which is called The Waiting Room 8, and it shows two people, one of them a skeleton, in what may be a waiting room. They're wearing owl and pussycat hats, hence the link to the pub. And the rhyme itself was quite surreal, and yeah, a nonsense poem. And Lydia's piece kind of reflects this, but also relates to her thoughts of the lockdown, with the characters wearing keep calm, don't panic masks, rubber gloves to protect themselves. And yeah, she says that the whole of the lockdown for her has been increasingly confusing, and the image and the reference to the poem kind of reflect this. So here we are just off Redchurch Street on the corner of Chance Street, and we have Sylvia's piece, La Katrina, and this is inspired by a Mexican Day of the Dead figure, La Katrina, who was worshipped by the Aztecs as a goddess of the dead. We've cited her here as the sort of red colour reflects the idea of Redchurch Street, and also the religious iconography as well fits really well with the idea of the red church. So also on Chance Street we have a piece by Mr. Tractor Inspector, and this piece is called Worms, and Mr. Tractor Inspector says it depicts how wormy life in East London can be, and this person maybe has just come out of their private view, they've got their drink in their hand and are being overwhelmed by the worms. And also on this street are some other lovely pieces of street art, and we've also got some hanging shoe sculptures here, which maybe again reference the worminess of the area. On to the next work. We're here on the corner of Redchurch Street now to find Karen Burns' piece, and this is Control Your Nasty Tone Too. So the piece actually reads Cunty in soft sculpture, but is obviously made unreadable, illegible by the positioning of the soft letters, and it's been placed in this phone box, a traditional site of sex worker advertising, although there's none in this particular phone box. And the idea to sort of contrast the language, the reference to the female genitalia, with the site of sex work advertising, making something that might be considered taboo, rude, offensive, into a form of art. I've stopped again outside Hunky Dory Vintage. Sadly closed at the moment due to lockdown 2, but I managed to get inside and film John Lee Bird's piece before the lockdown started. Unfortunately with no sound this time, but you can watch that now.
So you've changed around the shop? Well, honestly, because... See you later.
We're here on the corner of Bacon Street outside Dark Sugars to find Gay Black's piece, Ice Cream. You have to crouch down for this one. And this was a piece created by Gay Black during the first lockdown about her inability to control her situation. The image has been formed with the folds of raspberry ripple ice cream, so we thought it was perfectly appropriate to have it sited opposite this amazing ice cream shop. Unfortunately, there's no time to stop right now. So we've stopped on Brick Lane to look at Dusty Bucket's work, The Glorp. This is actually a video piece, so please check that out on the link we've used. We've situated it underneath the train tracks here, as the piece was actually filmed on the train tracks, representing the River Styx, in which Dusty Bucket as Sullenness is emerging from. So yeah, please do pause this, watch the video and then come back and rejoin us when you've seen it. It's only short. So here we have Yu Kyung Shin's piece Fuego, and the piece is an explosion of colour about rebirth and rediscovery. And we've placed it here. It's actually got a little bit of graffiti overlapping it since we placed it here. Yeah, we placed it next to this large graffiti wall, and the idea is that our piece is sort of an explosion of colour, contrasting against the more formal traditional street art that's been placed here. We've stopped at the next piece on our trail, Lizette Nin's We Will Flourish, and it's right in the shadow of the Truman Brewery, which is all around us, and we have a plaque on the wall just up here to Thomas Vole Buxton, anti-slavery campaigner. We've chosen to put the piece here as the work, and much of Lizette Nin's work in general, is around the Black Afro-Caribbean experience and its intersectionality tied to gender and race. And this piece in particular is about the need for rest and nourishment for black men and women in order to overcome the pain perpetuated by 400 years of imprisonment without reparation. So we've stopped here to find Melody Thornton's piece, Polaroid 365, and in 1999 the artist took a Polaroid of herself every day of the year, and as the year went on she found the images became more and more abstract. So this is the final image, I'm guessing, in the series. And we've placed it outside Analog Films, one of the few places in London you can still get your actual film developed, so we thought that was quite appropriate for the piece. And just a few steps away on the same road we've placed Emma Davis's piece, which is in the window of Libraria, this lovely bookshop. And sadly they're closed at the moment, but they've left the piece for us to see, which is lovely. And this is Emma Davis's piece Garden, and she says it's a movement drawing which has evolved into mark making, creating a more sculptural relationship with the book and the spine. And this is going to be here for a little while until the shop reopens at least, so you can have a look and see this one as you're walking along. And just to mention that if you do want to order any books, Libraria does a great range of art books and also a great feminist selection. So have a look on their website and you can order online. Here we are at Hanbury Hall, where our next piece is sited, which is Sabrina Fuller's A Flame. And I'm going to walk closer just so you can have a look at the blue plaque before we take a look at the piece. And as you can see, the building was originally built as a French Huguenot church, but among other things, in 1888 Annie Besant and Eleanor Marks Aveling held the Match Girls strike meetings here, which is why we have chosen to put Sabrina Fuller's piece here. Actually the piece was created specifically for the location by Sabrina, inspired by the early women's struggle for their rights, their equal rights in working situations and conditions. And she says, low pay, long hours, appalling conditions and industrial hazards led, after many years of campaigning, to the 1888 Match Girls strike, which saw the beginning of a gradual improvement in working conditions. Strike meetings were held at the Hanbury Hall. The London night cleaners' strike in 1972, following a long campaign for unionisation, saw some improvement in pay and working conditions for one of the most exploited workforces, low paid, precarious, isolated and without rights. And I'd encourage you to stop this video and now take a listen to her sound piece, which we've included the link to. Again, it's only a short one, so please do stop, listen and then rejoin us afterwards. So this time stops at the Golden Heart pub, and here we have Mia Jane Harris's piece, Blood, Sweat and Hope. And again, this was created recently during the pandemic as a tribute to NHS doctors and nurses and all of their hard work. And the piece has actually been displayed within London hospitals as a way of supporting and celebrating our NHS. So here we have Teresa Bradbury's piece, Becoming Woman, and the piece explores the idea of femininity as a social construct, the idea that it's created, but also that the idea of femininity has become commodified by the patriarchal systems. The idea of femininity as a decorative layer, seen in the decorative layer covering this woman's face. But we've also situated the piece just outside Spitalfields Market, and there are a few makeup shops here which we felt were quite apt next to what the piece has been discussing. So this is the fabulous Christchurch Spitalfields, one of the Hawksmoor churches, and I recommend that when it's open you do have a look inside, because it's amazing inside as well. But this is where our next piece, Fragility of Self, Veiled, is situated. And here it is. And we've put the piece here as a direct reference to the church, as the piece explores ideas of violence against women, and in particular relates specifically to forced marriage. So Fragility of Self uses mannequins mainly in her work, with their anonymity and uniformity, but also their confirmation to the male gaze idealism. So just across the way from Fragility of Self's piece is the 10 Bells pub, which is also often used as a stop on Jack the Ripper tours, as it's said to be one of the sites where his victims, Annie Chapman or Mary Jane Kelly, were last seen alive. And this is directly referenced by Victoria General's piece, which is just across the road here. If you wanted to read about Jack the Ripper in terms of his victims, rather than the actual murderer himself, a really good book is The Five by Haley Rubenhold, and it gives a more feminist reading of the story rather than glorifying the man that killed women. But here is Victoria General's piece, and this is called For Catherine, and the piece refers to Catherine Eddowes, another of Jack the Ripper's victims. And Victoria says that she cringes how these women and their lives have become simply a puzzle game for modern enthusiasts. And it should be remembered that all of the women were real women with real lives, cares and troubles and loves like the rest of us. So over here we have Nadia Nervo's piece F, and we've situated it on the old doorway of this textiles factory. And this is a female figure which features prominently in Nadia Nervo's photographs. In the series she invites strangers to sit naked to capture intimate portraits of women. So here we have Lindsay Martin's The Grown-Ups Are Talking. Again, this is a film, so please do pause the video here, use the link and watch Lindsay's film. So now you've had a look at that, hopefully we're going to zoom out and let you see the rest of this beautiful building where the piece has been sited. And hopefully you can see the blue plaque on the corner of the house, which is a plaque to Anna Maria Garthwaite, a female textile designer and silk producer in the 18th century. There were lots of silk producers here in this area, many of them French Huguenots, but Anna Maria was a British woman and worked mainly in floral design, and created silks, and we've cited Lindsay's piece here because her film includes images of flowers, moths and silk cocoons, so we thought it was appropriate that this was placed on Anna Maria's home. So we're here for the last stop on our art hunt, outside Cafe 1001 in the Truman Brewery, and this is Paul Michael Brown's piece, What Is Life For? And it's a sound piece, so please, at the end of this film, please do stop and listen. There's a short version or the full version of the piece. Between 2015 and 2019, the artist posed the question, "What is life for?" And it was open to the general public to call in and leave any kind of response or interpretation in regards to the question, "What is life for?" Thanks for coming with us on our art hunt Trail Sweet Arts. We hope you've enjoyed watching this video. We're hoping to run this again early next year, maybe in the spring, as it's a really nice, safe way to see some artwork and have a walk at the same time. So stay tuned for more. You can sign up to our mailing list on our website or follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. If you've really enjoyed this video, you could even donate to us. We have a Patreon page, which we're going to give the details of, or you can do a one-off donation to PayPal. And we're a non-profit organisation, so everything you do give goes straight back into creating more events, more exhibitions, more ways for you to see some art. Thanks, bye bye.